We on Fire Sports Podcast, The Spot, season number 4, episode number 19. And man, I hope you guys had a great weekend. I hope you guys were safe and sound. I know some crazy times out in California, as well as in the southeastern part of the United States. So first and foremost, man, I hope you guys were safe and sound over the weekend. Also, too, I hope you guys enjoyed the sporting landscape across the National Football League and NBA and college football and so forth. As things got pretty interesting across the NFL as we had the playoffs jump off, the wild card round of the NFL playoffs. Also, we had some breaking news on the coaching front. You know, just a few updates across the board. And before I get into all of that, I got a special guest falling through as we talk about my Chicago Bears, one of the teams out there that's looking for a head coach. I got my man E falling through, Mr. Taylor Street himself from the Weekly Dog Sports Betting Podcast. You can definitely check those guys out on YouTube. Him and my man Mako at Firebox 2300. I got him falling through as we talk about the Chicago Bears whole situation during this coaching search. The Bears brought in just about everybody and their mama, man, here for an interview. It's definitely going to be interesting what we land on as far as a coach coming up for my Bears. So we're going to get into that a little bit later on in the show. But a few pressing matters on the coaching front in the NFL. First of all, congratulations to Mike Vrabel. Homecoming for him, going back to the New England Patriots as he becomes the head coach of the New England Patriots. That happened pretty fast, obviously, as the Patriots moved on from Gerard Mayo in his first season with the New England Patriots. He got shown the dough, replaced one former linebacker from the Patriots with another linebacker with the Patriots, and Vrabel, 3-time Super Bowl winner with the Pats. You know, this guy, good defensive player. He just had a knack for catching the football, man, as they put him in some special packages with the New England Patriots. That's one of my most things that, you know, I love seeing Mike Vrabel play, is that he was a threat on both sides of the ball, ironically. And I thought that Robert Kraft got this right. I will say this, is that Mike Vrabel, and you guys are here coming up in the conversation I had with E. Salim, is that I thought Vrabel was the best coach for my Chicago Bears, the best coaching option. But definitely congratulations to him and the New England Patriots as they move forward now on their perch to try to get back to relevancy in the NFL. We'll see how that do moving forward for them coming up next season. There's also a lot of vacancies out there. You know, one of them is New Orleans. We got Jacksonville. We got the Las Vegas Raiders. As the Raiders moved on from Antonio Pierce, Tom Brady, GM position, not GM position, but front office position with the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll see what he does and what the Raiders do zeroing in on their coaching search. There's been also the Dallas Cowboys. We're moving on for Mike McCarthy as they agreed to part ways. I think Jerry Jones is a very interesting figure, without question. And Jerry's been a little late to the party on a few things, man. Just a little late to the party on a few things. One of those things is, one, re-signing Dak Prescott in a timely manner. Probably cost him a couple $1 million. I know Jerry ain't sweating that. Also, the whole CeeDee Lamb situation. And now we have Mike McCarthy. And word on the street is that Jerry and Deion Sanders have had a couple conversations, or at least a conversation about the Dallas Cowboys job. Deion says, you know, I got my kickstand down at Colorado. I'm just chilling, relaxing right now. Boy, stop. I think Deion has done an outstanding job in Colorado, building that program back from a 1-10 season prior to him getting out there in Boulder. But Deion is all about opportunity. I mean, that's the prime time I know. It's all about opportunity. You know, he's a guy that's always prepared, but you know, he's a guy that's, you know, hey, if you knock on my door, I will answer. And so we'll see how that situation unfolds. I can only imagine him and Jerry Jones, man. It definitely would be more than the NFL from a media standpoint can handle. Not sure if Deion wants to go down to that Lions Den down in Dallas, but he knows Jerry. Jerry spent a big bag of money on him, bringing him in from free agency when he left the San Francisco 49ers in the mid-90s. So they have a cool relationship, and, Deion, hold fort down in Texas, stayed in the area. And it's going to be an interesting, situation in the offseason for him. Shedeur Sanders might be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft coming up. Not sure where Shedeur is going to go. Tennessee Titans have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. It could be there. Could be, they may go with Cam Ward out of the University of Miami. We'll see about that. Speaking of the University of Miami, they just got an incumbent quarterback in Carson Beck, moving on from the Georgia Bulldogs and transferring to the University of Miami, reportedly with a cool $4 million for his traveling expenses down there at Coral Gables. And we'll see what the Miami program does next season. It's a program that I've followed since the 1980s, from the Snellenberger, Johnson, Erickson era back in the day. And so I'm definitely going to keep my eye on that. But back to the NFL. Like I said, we had the NFL playoffs jump off. And I'm going to start with the Houston Texans taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Jim Harbaugh in his first season with the Chargers got them to the playoffs. They made a bunch of roster moves during the offseason. Went out with the old, came in with the new. And I thought that the Chargers had a chance to win this football game. And I predicted that the Chargers actually would win this football game, as you guys may have heard on the last episode. And boy, was I wrong. Now, mind you, I didn't expect Justin Herbert to go out there and just basically throw the game with 4 inexcusable interceptions. I mean, my God, this is the worst NFL game I've ever seen Justin Herbert play. And it cost him. Because they had a little momentum in the beginning of this game. Obviously the Chargers came out and scored first. I thought that, they had the table kind of set for the Texans. The Texans have been stuck in the mud offensively the last month or so of the season. And those turnovers lit a fire. They lit a fire for the Texans, especially C.J. Stroud. Joe Mixon was doing an outstanding job running the football. But I think those interceptions and them turning the ball over, and as you all know, man, in the playoffs, you can't turn the football over. That's a recipe for disaster. And the Texans capitalized off of that. They brought pressure at Herbert. Shout out to Will Anderson. He had an outstanding football game in this clip, as the Texans was able to win 32-12. Sends the Chargers home for the season, and the Texans move on to the divisional round. And now they got to face the champ. They take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs have been chilling, sitting back at home. Right now, they're 8-point favorite in this football game. 2-time defending champion. They're going for history. Try to win their 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. And this has been a team that has been on the couch the last 2 weeks. Because last week of the season was a practice squad game. So I'm not sure how much rust that this team has. Andy Reid, he's a veteran NFL coach. And so I think that if any team that has a bye, a couple weeks off, really, they're a team that I think that can handle that. And I'll preview that game coming up a little bit later in the week on Friday's episode. My little preview across the divisional round matchups. But that's going to be an interesting matchup. 2 good quarterbacks in that tilt. I can't wait to see that one. But as I said again, the Chargers, man, they blew the game. Just too many turnovers from Justin Herbert. It don't matter who you play. You got 4 interceptions in a football game, more than likely you're going to lose that football game. And the Chargers found out the hard way, man, as this season is so ceremoniously over with. Then we'll stay in the AFC. In a game that I was interested in the black and blue division, the divisional tilt, these 2 teams have had some good clashes over the last couple of years, and that's the Baltimore Ravens took on the Pittsburgh Steelers. In the Ravens, I knew that they were the more talented football club. I thought that the Steelers had a puncher's chance. And I say that very, very loosely, a puncher's chance. And Baltimore came out running the football. Derrick Henry over 100 yards in the first half of this football game. And Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens, he had a game plan, and that game plan was run the ball down the Steelers' throat. Occasionally, Lamar Jackson make a couple hits downfield. They didn't have Zay Flowers in this football game. Zay Flowers is a guy that can take the top off of an offense, or off a defense rather. And I thought that Todd Monken did a good job in just simply having a game plan slated out and what they wanted to do. And this game was about to get out of hand, and I thought that the Steelers, they did a good job of trying to climb back into the football game. I thought the Ravens was about to roll them. They went up 14-0. I believe at some point they got up to 21-0 in this football game, but the Steelers fought back. And so their season is over with. There's a lot of questions with Russell Wilson. Would he be back? I don't believe so, but you never know in Pittsburgh. You got the whole situation with Mike Tomlin, his future in Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin has a no trade clause in his contract. And I believe a little bit earlier he came out with the statement, if you're trying to trade for me, ain't happening. So it looks like they may move forward in Pittsburgh for another season for Mike Tomlin. And that season is over with at this point. And the Ravens, I like what I saw from the Ravens, especially Lamar Jackson. I think he played a good football game. He wasn't anxious. He didn't make big time overthrows in this football game, which we've seen from Lamar Jackson in his last couple tilts in the NFL playoffs, is that for some reason he just wasn't himself. Whether it's overthrowing guys, whether it's not moving out of the pocket and getting out of the pocket as he traditionally does, which we seen more so prevalent last season and last playoffs. And I'm liking what I'm seeing from Baltimore. And the most notable thing that I like what I see from Baltimore is their defense and defensively. This team is fine, and I've been speaking about this all season long. It's not the talent from Baltimore on the defensive end. I just think that they just couldn't get their chemistry right. They got a first-time defensive coordinator in Baltimore, and I think they're finally getting the wheels turning on the defensive end, man. So congratulations to Baltimore. They move on to the divisional round, which to me is going to be one of the most exciting matchups in the divisional round. And they're going to face off with a team that straight hit the liftoff button. And I'm talking about the Buffalo Bills, as they was able to knock off the Denver Broncos 31-7. Broncos came out, went right down the field and scored 7-0. As you guys know, listen to the show, you guys know that I thought that the Broncos had a real good chance at winning this football game, because I like the defense of what Sean Payton and company's been able to do out there in Denver. Overall, just collectively, they're a top 3 defensive unit in the NFL. And Josh Allen put on the cape again. Here we go again. Put on the cape again. And just the balance from him. He wasn't trying to, even though he put the cape on, he wasn't out there trying to make what I consider just straight wild and crazy type of plays. He took what the defense gave him. And whenever he get in the short yardage, Josh Allen gonna get that first down. To me, he kind of reminds me of the modern day version of Tim Tebow at Florida. Tim Tebow, if it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 4th and 2, 4th and 3, just get Tim Tebow the ball as a first down. And that's what Josh Allen is with it now. And shout out to James Cook. I think he had a very balanced run game in this football game. Josh Allen did with James Cook. And the Buffalo Bills look real good in this football game. They look real good in this game. And now, in this divisional matchup in the AFC, the Bills will take on the Baltimore Ravens. This game will be played in Buffalo, and I can't wait. Like Bart Scott, I can't wait for this matchup. You might as well get the popcorn ready, man, for this one. This is going to be an outstanding football game, but I'm going to get into that, preview that game a little bit later on in my prediction and that a little bit later on this week. But yeah, I can't wait for that one. Boy, what a matchup that's going to be. And then in the NFC, we had the Los Angeles Rams take on the Minnesota Vikings. The Rams have been dealing with a lot this week. A lot of the players have, some of them, I believe, have lost their homes during the California wildfires out there, and this game was moved to Arizona. And I want to tip my cap, too, to the Arizona Cardinals, man, the organization, because they did a good job in sending planes, making sure that the Los Angeles Rams, who was the home team in this football game, that they was cool and comfortable. And boy, did it show on the field. And for me, I thought the Vikings, because I had the Vikings winning this football game, I just thought that the Rams just came out there and just straight punched them in the mouth. And it started from the defensive end. I mean, they had Sam Darnold running for his life. I believe the Rams ended up, if I'm not mistaken, with 7 sacks in this football game. An infinite amount of pressures in this football game. And Sam Darnold was seeing ghosts again. He definitely was seeing ghosts. I don't know if it's the Pac-Man ghost. I don't know if it's the ghost from Ghostbusters. I don't know if it's Casper the ghost. But he saw ghosts. And it was not a good performance by him. I think that the defense played reasonably well for the Vikings, but they just was on the field just too much. The Vikings came, back with a little, what I call kind of a cheap touchdown in this game. But by looking at and watching this game by halftime, I already knew what the script of this was going to be. And Sean McVay, I call him the scheme master. He was able to scheme up in this football game, get the Rams to where they need to be. I think he's the best coach in the NFC. I think he's a top 3 coach in the National Football League. The ironic part about Sean McVay is that I had a chance to actually watch Sean McVay play in high school as a quarterback. Won a Georgia State title at the old Georgia Dome. You'd have told me then that this guy would be a coach and be one of the best coaches in the National Football League in a very short period of time. Not sure if I would have believed it. Now, he comes from a family of football. His grandfather, was in the National Football League, a mover and shaker back in the day. And what they say, the apple don't fall too far from the tree, man. So shout out to the Los Angeles Rams. Congratulations for them moving on to the divisional round. Definitely on a personal note, I hope that, all the players and the families and people that live out there in the Los Angeles area and just in the area of the wildfires, man, I hope the best for you guys. But you guys show Rams fans and people out there in Los Angeles proud in this football game. So congratulations to them. They move on to the divisional round. Not sure what's going to happen with Sam Darnold. Not sure what's going to happen because the Minnesota Vikings, they brought in J.J. McCarthy last year, first round pick out of University of Michigan. He messed up his ACL doing training camp. He was put on ice for the whole season. The crazy part about it is that he tweeted after this football game in Latin, by the way. Now, I'm not a Latin philosopher, but I did or was able to break down what he said, that he can't wait to get on the field next season for the Vikings to get that get back. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with Sam Darnold. And this may be a subject that I may circle back on at a later time. But I think Sam Darnold, he didn't put his best foot forward as far as auditioning to come back for the Minnesota Vikings for next season. We'll definitely see what that do. And then we had a game that I just knew this game was going to be exciting. And I'm talking about the Tampa Bay Bucks against the Washington Commanders. Boy, was this a good football game. Now, coming into this game, I thought that the Bucs, with their experience last year, Baker Mayfield, and what they able to do on the offensive end, I thought they would beat the Washington Commanders. I ain't even gonna front. And I put it on wax. As you guys heard in the last episode, if you got a chance to check out my last episode. And Jaden Daniels is special. This guy is special. Now, the Commanders came in with a new ownership, with Harris and Magic Johnson, part of the Brain Trust, and just the moves that they've been able to make, bringing in Lattimore, the cornerback from the New Orleans Saints, to try to tighten up their defense a little bit. And at the end of the day, it always boils down to the end of the game and Jaden Daniels and what he's able to do. As the Commanders was able to win this game 23-20. Kicked a big-time field goal, Gonzalez, at the end of this football game to put a bow on it. I thought that the Tampa Bay Bucks, they had every chance to win this football game. And sometimes in the NFL, in the playoffs, it boils down to one play. And that one play was the fumble by Baker Mayfield. Coughed up the football. The Buccaneers had the momentum. coughed up the football in the short part of the field, and that was the beginning of the end for the Tampa Bay Bucs. Now, I was a little hot with Dan Quinn and the Commanders during the game when they went forward on fourth down. I believe the early part of the fourth quarter was a 4-point game. And they elected to go for it and got stopped. And I'm like, man, you got to go ahead and take your 3. Make this a 1-point game. It's a 1-possession game. Field goal, you win the football game. Don't believe in these analytic nerds, man. Take your points. But it didn't hurt them because Baker Mayfield came back and fumbled the football, man. And like I said, that was the beginning of the end. I think, Baker did have a good season this year, so I don't want to, stain Baker. But in the playoffs, turnovers will get you beat every time. And to me, that was kind of the mode of the playoffs so far. What I've seen so far is that in the games that was tight, and it was very few and far between, really was one football game that really was tight, and that was this one. But in the other game, some of the turnovers, as I mentioned a little earlier, with Justin Herbert having 4 interceptions, you going home, bro. Just too many turnovers. So that was kind of the mode and what I was kind of watching across the collective of the games this weekend. And finally, we had the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Green Bay Packers. Now, I had the Eagles winning this football game coming in. I just thought that I have more trust in their offense and Jalen Hurts than I do Jordan Love. Because Jordan Love, good young prospect, good young quarterback, but he's still learning, man. And I think, he's been more so what I call a new version of like a young Brett Favre, to where makes outstanding plays. If he get hot, he'll come back on you, but he'll also burn you. And in this game, I thought Philadelphia across the board on both sides of the football, they played a good football game, holding the Packers only to 10 points. And I thought that the Packers, man, is just, for me, in some matchups, man, it just boiled down to talent, especially from the Eagles' perspective where they don't turn over the football. Saquon Barkley had a decent game. But the most interesting footnote of this football game was A.J. Brown on the sidelines reading his favorite book, his favorite novel. And I'm not sure if anybody was able to capture the title of the book he was reading, but I thought it was very, very interesting. Now, people, put A.J. Brown up there as a diva. The man has just been frustrated just not getting targets, man. And we've seen this, whether it's T.O., whether it's whoever. Insert your favorite wide receiver in this. I don't mind that as long as it's not a distraction to the team. A.J. Brown is a perennial, Pro Bowler, All-Pro. He deserves that cachet. Just don't let it be a distraction to the team. So I did think it was funny. I don't think it was a distraction because they was able to win the football game. And the Eagles move forward next week as they take on the Los Angeles Rams next week. This game will be played in Philadelphia. I'm going to save my predictions for the next episode coming up towards the end of the week. So we'll see what that do. Also, too, can't forget about the Detroit Lions. They was at home chilling, eating popcorn, eating their favorite foods, watching all these games. As they take on the Washington Commanders next week, that game will be played in Detroit. Detroit stand up. So I'll get my predictions and my pick of that football game as well coming up on next episode. But that's my look across the National Football League and the playoffs and the whole coaching situation across the league. Coming up, I have my interview with my homeboy Falling Through, Isalim, Mr. Taylor Street from the Weekly Dog Sports Betting Podcast, as we talk our Chicago Bears and what we gonna do with our next coaching situation. Until then, I catch you. We on Fire Sports Podcast. The Spot. We on Fire Sports Podcast, The Spot. And we got the NFL season. We in the playoffs right now. There's a lot of teams that has high hopes coming up this weekend in an NFL slate. But most of the news has been teams who hadn't made the playoffs this season and teams that are making organizational changes. Most notably with the head coaching situation across the league. But you know I had to get into my Chicago Bears. The whole situation we got up there in Chicago with the Chicago Bears. Obviously, we moved on from Matt Eberflus during the season. So we're definitely in the coaching hunt. And I got a special guest for y'all, man. My comrade from the Weekly Dog Sport Betting Podcast. Him and my man, Mako. But I got, man, Mr. Taylor Street in the building. My man, E checking in. Chopping up about the Chicago Bears. What's going on, sir?
Hey, T, not the spot. Finally here. We on fire the spot. How you feeling, man? It's a pleasure being here, man. It's a pleasure. You bringing me back.
Oh, yeah, man. I definitely had to have you come in on the check-in, man. You know, I definitely appreciate you guys' coverage on the Chicago Bears, man. You and Mako getting it in all season long. It definitely hasn't been the most harmonious season for Chicago Bear fans. You know, we was riding high on Hard Knocks in the fall. You know, one of the most notable teams in the season with all the moves that we made. Drafted Caleb Williams and brought in Keenan Allen and Swift and just Roma Doomsday. I mean, I can go down a whole list, man, of what Ryan Poles and the brass up in Chicago's been able to do. But, man, what's your thoughts, man, about, you know, obviously us ending the season, 5 ball games, 5 wins, got rid of the losing streak to Green Bay, but fell short of the playoffs, man. What's your thoughts, about the Bears this season, man, and what jumped off this year?
First of all, I want to say, the Bears, for all my Bears fans, stand up. You know, now let's get to the Bears. So, man, you know, it's been a disappointing season to me overall, you know, because we had a lot of high expectations, the way we felt. You know, I was one of those that was, you know, still on both pedals of the stick, whether we should keep Justin or Caleb. But I came out to that. Caleb proved me wrong, pretty much, you know, as far as that was concerned. So that portion of the season, that was definitely I'll give that a B+ as far as our quarterback is concerned. That was pretty impressive to me what he's done, just based on him not having an offensive line, you know, switching coaches mid-season. But, you know, just him having 3,500 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I mean, what more can you ask for? Last time I checked, the last Bears quarterback that did something like that, if I don't recall, maybe I don't even think Jay Cutler did that. I believe the last person was Aaron Kramer, possibly, you know, as far as a rookie is concerned or whatnot. But nevertheless, man, that's the good part. That it seems like we got promise. Doomsday, he had about 700 yards passing for his rookie season. That's not bad considering that you got 2 other receivers, you know. So I'll give him a C-. You know, other than that, I mean, I believe DJ Moore still reached up for 1,000 yards. So despite all the bad play calling and a terrible offensive line and all the crazy stuff that was going on when our losing streak was first established, I mean, I feel like our next season is going to be promising. You know, we just got to, you know, tighten it up a little bit as far as personnel is concerned. We talking front office, and yeah, let's see what's gonna bring us.
Yeah, man, I just think that you mentioned an interesting point for me, because, you know, obviously there's been a lot of talk about Caleb Williams and obviously what Jaden Daniels was able to do this season and Bo Nix was able to do this season.
Right.
But I think when you just look at his numbers and you just take away his name from his numbers, you just throw his numbers out there for a rookie, most teams in this league will take that all day long.
Absolutely.
So I just think that for the Bears, it was a situation. Obviously, the offensive line was very underwhelming. You know, they definitely get, you know, a failing grade for me, just not consistent and having, you know, Caleb run for his life. You know, I think that the offense, you know, it was kind of up and down. You know, we went through that stretch of where we just could not score touchdowns in the first half of football games. You know, second half was a different story where, you know, we fought back in several games, came up short in several games, but the offense was just moving slow. Cole Kmet just wasn't involved in the offense at all at a consistent level all season long. And, most people, as I mentioned, you guys do a great job up there in Chicago. I know most people are frustrated with the play calling. I mean, how many bubble screens we gonna do to DJ Moore, man? You know what I mean? So I think that at the end of the day, the offensive side, has still talent. And obviously, Swift came in and had a pretty good season from the backfield. And so I think that overall the talent is good. I just think that when you have your offensive coordinator get fired, literally in the first month of the season, and we come to find out that he wasn't scripting his first 15 plays for having a rookie quarterback. Yeah, what Caleb did, man, I'll take that in spades.
Absolutely. And another thing I just want to point, like you were saying, if we take away the name and you just put all three of the rookies' stats amongst each other, it seems like they crucifying Caleb Williams like he just had this terrible season, but they crowning Jalen Daniels and Bo Nix like they just did something amazing when the numbers are very, very similar. Now, the records are not the same, but if you're going to crucify somebody, it's like, let's keep it at 100. And that's, if you want to go by stats, go by stats. He can't play defense too. He can't tell Stevenson to not, act like we already won. Then next thing you know, the play is coming, and now that's the losing streak starts from there. So there are things that I just feel like, a lot of media and analysts is, kind of like derailing what Caleb did this year when pretty much he had one of the better years as a rookie. So that's just my take on, the Bears right now. I'm just optimistic, for next season, because if this is his rock bottom, the way they proclaim it to be, then sky's the limit. Sky is the limit.
Yeah, man, what you think about the coaching search and the Bears bringing in, just putting up the Batman Thundercat symbol out there, every coach that's available, we're going to bring them in and talk to them. What do you think about, one, the process of what the Bears are doing for the next head coach, and who do you think should be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears?
So right now it's kind of dicey because it's very interesting what the Bears are doing with this coaching search. I do feel like I don't know what's going on, but every time I look up, the Bears looking like they're trying to interview somebody else. The last time I checked, I saw something today that they were thinking about considering trying to still bring Bill Belichick in for an interview, even though he already just signed with North Carolina. So I feel like they kind of need to slow down, relax for a little bit. We don't need all these old school names. I'm cool with all of that. I'm looking to seek one of these young offensive minded guys out here that's on one of these teams that's in the league currently. Like, for instance, number one, obviously everybody know about Ben Johnson. Really nobody knew about him until this year, to be honest with you. Maybe last year a little bit. But now his name is up there, and rightfully so. I feel like that's who I would take, regardless of he doesn't have coaching experience. I'm more looking at he's the best pick for our team because now we're taking something away from Detroit in our division. So that's why I would prefer him over any other coordinator or over any other coordinator that's trying to be a head coach, just because we could take away one of their weapons and bring him on to us, and he kind of know what's going on with them already. So we can play, that could work in our favor. Another guy that I'm looking at, pretty much just a couple of guys out there. I like the coordinator in Baltimore. In Buffalo.
Okay. Yeah, Joe Brady.
Yep, Joe Brady. That's another guy I'm looking at. Like, I'm keeping my eye on. Right now, it's about this. Don't rush nothing right now. Let's look at the playoffs. Let's see. And I'm talking about Ryan Poles, and Warren. Let's watch these games. Let's analyze them more. Let's see what's going on with these playoff teams and see if we can catch one of these guys, because it's going to show. I'd rather have a coordinator to be a coach that's in the playoffs right now, because now we get to see adversity right now. These are the top teams, and they're fresh with it. So that's my take on it. Let's just not rush it. Let's not grab somebody that has been in the league for 3-4 years. I'm not with all of that, and if that was the case, then it needs to be somebody that has a lot of credibility, that has a great record overall in general, and won some playoff games.
Yeah, and I think that, to me, when you break that down, my candidate would be Mike Vrabel. And I know that, you and Mako, I know you guys had that conversation, man, on Sports Weekly Dog Sports Betting Podcast, where podcasts can be found at across the board. Check these guys out on YouTube also. And
Firebox 2300. Make sure y'all go to Firebox 2300.
All day, man. And so, you guys had the conversation, man. And for me, I just think that the Bears need a leader of men. I think they need a guy that has some experience of being a head coach in the National Football League. To me, I mean, think about it. The last coach that we have hired in Chicago that had coaching experience was John Fox. So we talking about Trestman, Nagy, obviously Eberflus. So literally our last, few coaches have been coaches that have never been a head coach in the National Football League before. And we're a flagship franchise. I mean, we're one of the staples in the National Football League, going back to, Papa Bear Harris, Hal Hallis. And so I just think that it's a situation for us. We got to stop treating ourselves like we're a small market football organization. And so to me, I just think that you got to bring in a guy that, one, has experience, and with Vrabel, he's a Super Bowl champion as a player, one. Two, he had a situation up in Tennessee, and I think they fired him too early in Tennessee. I thought it was a mistake. The ironic part about the situation in Tennessee is the guy that fired him just got fired 2 days ago in Van Carthon, the former GM now of the Tennessee Titans. So I thought it was a mistake that they fired Vrabel. And so to me, he's a Midwest guy. He's from Ohio, went to Ohio State. And so I just think that he's a guy that if you want to kind of get some more structure and some maturity within your locker room, that may be the guy. But we'll see. We'll see definitely what the Bears do, man. Moving forward, just in regards, this thing can get, interesting probably over the next couple of days or so. And so once again, man, I appreciate all the love and the feedback. And two, I appreciate the check-in, too, from my OG from the Sports Betting Podcast, Weekly Dog Sports Betting Podcast on YouTube and where podcasts can be located at. And coming up, the rest of the show, the We on Fire Sports Podcast, The Spot. Before I get out of here, it's a couple things I want to get into in the NBA. I know it's been a whole talk about this situation with Jimmy Butler down in Miami as him and Pat Riley is at a crossroads. It appears they finally got a chance to sit across man to man from each other and express how they feel. And Jimmy has reiterated that I want out of Miami. Now, don't be fooled. This is a money thing all day long. Jimmy wants a contract extension with the Miami Heat. Next season, he got a player option upwards from north of $50 million. So, Jimmy ain't hurting for no paper. But, if Jimmy thought that Pat Riley would be muscled and hustled into giving him a contract extension, ain't happening. Ain't happening. We seen Dwayne Wade get out of there over a few dollars with Pat Riley. And so, I'm going to keep it a buck. I'm siding with Pat Riley on this one, and I'll explain why. Is that at the end of the day, they're not paying this guy monopoly money. Jimmy's already 35 years old. He's taken the Miami Heat to 2 NBA Finals. They was unable to win another championship, and this is post the whole LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh era, Big Three era of the Miami Heat. So Jimmy has been good business for them. But to me, when we talk about contract, extensions upward north of $50 million, moving forward, you ain't getting that out of Pat, man. You're a guy that's not available. He just ain't going. And, I've been following this league for close to now over 40 years. And Pat has been in the league in some kind of way, shape, or form during that whole duration. If you'd have told me in the summertime last year when he made the statement about, hey, Jimmy needs to shut up if he ain't available, I knew then that we was headed to a divorce, just like that. And so, Jimmy is scheduled to come back from his 7-game suspension from the Miami Heat this weekend. A lot of people say that they believe that Jimmy's played his last game in Miami. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure where this thing is headed. Now, there's been word on the street that, Golden State may be interested as a destination. I heard the whole Phoenix thing. Phoenix ain't happening. You need so much cooperation. One, from Bradley Beal, who got a no trade clause. Word on the street, Miami ain't interested in bringing back Bradley Beal. So we might as well cross Phoenix off the list of teams he may be going to. We got Golden State, which I believe Golden State may be the best destination for him, if they're able to pull it off. Now, I hear what they say, wait for it. Oh, Jimmy, the Lakers. Stop it. Just stop it now. And I got a bone to pick with some of the people, some of the talking heads and some of the people across the league. It's lazy journalism when you just insert the Lakers name in everything. Now, there's no shout at the Lakers fans. And people who've listened to my show before knows I have affinity for true Lakers fans. Because true Lakers fans, especially the OG Lakers fans, they've seen Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal. They've seen some of the greatest and most polarizing players in the history of the league come through Los Angeles. And I just think that where they're at now, they're dog and pony show. Talking about the team. And so I don't see Jimmy going to the Lakers. I wouldn't be surprised, though. You never know, but I highly doubt it. So we don't know how this thing will end. Say with Jimmy Butler in the Miami Heat, but it's definitely came to an impasse. And then also, too, another thing that was interesting for me, man. I seen Steph Curry the other day saying that the Golden State Warriors, they shouldn't push all the chips into the middle of the table to try to bring in superstar and break up the team, and they got to think about what's best for the organization moving forward. Steph Curry is a great human being. That was very noble for him to say that. But if I'm Mike Dunleavy Jr., my job maybe is at stake for me trying to put together at least a team that's competitive while Steph is still, playing at a very, very high level. Steph Curry will be 37 next year, people. And so the hourglass is ticking. Not sure what Golden State is going to do. This is a team that's on the borderline cusp of even sniffing the playoffs, as they're currently in the 12th seed in the West. As the playoffs start today, they'll be on the outside looking in. And so I knew this day was coming. I knew this was coming when they basically decided to sign Draymond Green and move on from Klay Thompson. This is where we're at now, people. And so we'll see how, both situations unfold in the NBA. I'll probably get a little bit more in depth across the league on next episode coming up on Friday. But just a couple thoughts just across the NBA in regards. And shout out to Chris Paul and Wemby for giving out, jerseys to JJ Redick's kids, man, who, lost some of their basketball memorabilia and basketball cards and signed jerseys. I thought that was a very, very OG thing to do, man. So shout out to them just in that regard, man. A lot of people have been affected, obviously, by the wildfires out there in the Los Angeles area, California. And so that's it, man. That's it for episode number 19, man. As you know, I appreciate all the love and the feedback. If it's your first time listening, man, I hope you guys check back in. You can definitely check me out on YouTube at We On Fire Sports. Also, too, on X or Twitter at We On Fire Sports. Get at your boy. I definitely appreciate, like I said, your ear to my OGs. Once again, man, I appreciate you guys following through once again. We On Fire Sports Podcast. Spot.